Hello, my name is Charles Cummings. Today I will be presenting you and my audience members how to start a fire with no lighter. Now, why would you need to do this? If you find yourself stranded in your car with freezing temperatures outside, finding yourself off trail when you're hiking, or any other situation when you would need to provide heat to your body to stay alive. Now, to start, you will need fuel, a ignition system, and air, oxygen. Now, the specifics of fuel. You will need to start with something very combustible such as leaves, a fire starter, cardboard. This can be something like a receipt in your back pocket when you are stranded and you have nothing else. It could be cloth, it could be anything. And this was something that I got from a survival blog website. It's survivalblog.com, and this is written by David in the article that I had saw. Now, so the very basic thing is to start with your combustible item. Next, you build your fire larger and larger. This can be something like twigs, larger sticks, such as a log, and this will keep your fire going for longer and longer. You have to feed it as you go, and if you just start with the basics, leave the basics in there, you're gonna have a fire for maybe 10, 15 minutes, not long enough. So the second thing is what you're gonna need is an ignition system. This is not a lighter, this is a ferro rod, and I would demonstrate this, outside, but there's a red flag warning in my area. It's very windy, there's been a lot of fires, and the fire department's been very busy trying to put them out. So I'm not gonna do that today, but to use this, you would start with your fuel, as I had already said, on your very combustible item, and you just grind it. As such, to create sparks, you hold it very close to your combustible item, your fuel, and it will eventually start. So this is very, very maintainable. You can use this a lot of times, way more than a lighter, and it's more reliable. You can get it wet, you can get it in mud, you just wipe it off and you go again. I found the information for that on Grizzly Creek website, and it was written by a guy named Haas, and that is the article. I had read some of the information for that ferro rod, essentially flint and steel. So to move on, you need oxygen, you need air to provide your fire more fuel, essentially. It needs air to burn hotter. If you blow on it as you're lighting the fire, this will create the flame to get larger and larger. You can start with just embers, and if you blow on that, that'll create a flame, and then you add your fuel, again, smaller to larger. So the last thing that I will say is with this, since it's windy out, this is a good example. You can spread this fire anywhere it wants to go, and once it gets out of hand, you're really not gonna stop it, like at all. So you need to spread leaves, anything that will, catch on fire, away from your area of your fire pit. This can be something like rocks. You can dig a hole. You can have water around the area of the fire. It doesn't matter. Just so it does not spread and create a wildfire, or, God forbid that you get burned trying to do this. So I found some of that on Home Healthcare, the Applied Home Healthcare website, and that was written by a guy named John. So to summarize, what you need for a fire without a lighter is your fuel, your ignition system, and the air around you. This can be just something like you blowing with your mouth onto the fire. And this is important because it has saved many lives from the very beginning of time, since we started to make fire, instead of, skinning animals for their warmth and using their skin as blankets or whatever it may have been. There was also a time where Indians, such as, would create smoke signals to, tell people where they were, or use that as a start of, attack or whatnot. Also, a smoke system can be used to alert to an overhead helicopter if you find yourself way, way, way out in the wilderness and you can't, you can't reflect anything, you can't shine a light, you can't do anything like that, and you're too small to be seen. So this actually has happened many times. It's not really specified because people don't really count how many times they rescue people from things like this. And there was a guy in Alaska who was hiking, just as my example in the very beginning. He found himself off trail. He was exploring a little bit, probably knew what he was doing, and it came equipped with everything that he needed. And he had fallen off a small cliff and broken his leg, and with his equipment that he had brought, which was this, a ferro rod, he used that to create a fire which caused smoke, which eventually a few days later, after people noticed he was missing and he was probably in trouble, they saw the smoke and the flame from his fire, and he survived essentially because he was rescued. Because things like this do not last forever. You need to make a point to escape yourself. You can't just rely on the fire. Fire can also cook things. It can boil water. It can do a bunch of things to help you survive if you find yourself in a catastrophic situation. So I hope this was all useful, and this was useful information for everybody. I hope one day you never find yourself in this situation, but if you do, that one day this will help, and all the information in this video will help you survive. Thank you for watching.